to Suits and Sneakers, a series featuring sage advice and candid conversations with seasoned leaders from diverse backgrounds and styles. I'm your host, Carrie Tuttle. With my guests, we deep dive into the areas of team engagement, motivation, and effective performance management. Get ready to be inspired and transform your approach to leadership. Please like, subscribe, or follow to be notified when episodes are released. Let's get started. My guest today is Shama Walji. She is a human-centered HR professional holding the CPHR designation and currently Director of Human Resources at Royop Development Corporation in Calgary. Shama's passion is employer branding, and her career has centered around developing and sustaining organizational culture, internal communications, and occupational health and safety. Fun fact, Shama has been a yoga instructor for almost 14 years. Shama, welcome to Suits and Sneakers.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie.
Yeah, my pleasure. Now, for those of us who aren't familiar with Royop Development, can you give us a little bit of background?
Yeah, so Royop Development has been a commercial real estate developer for the last 60 years. We develop our properties. We now are self-performing our construction, as well as we run the whole gamut. So it's development into construction, into leasing, and then into property management.
Okay. Are there any buildings that are pretty substantial that we might be familiar with?
So we're currently working on a township project, which is on the south end of the city. And then we have North Hill Co-op, where we have a mixed-use development.
Oh, okay, great. Royop Development's been around 60 years, but you've been involved for about 5 years. What was it like coming in as the sole HR person?
Yeah, so coming in as a sole HR person, I think I was humbled a bit. I think there's power in pause. So I really had to come in and I definitely had to hit the ground running, but I wanted to be really mindful about getting to know the people in the organization, where our current culture climate is, and where they want to go. And so in order for me to do all that, building relationships was really huge for me. At that time, it was 2021, and we had a fragmented culture. There was a lot of fatigue, being that we were an essential service in property management. And it just seemed as though the retention rates were low, the turnover rates were quite high, the HR infrastructure wasn't built the way that it needed to be built. So coming in, I definitely had to hit the ground running, but get to know everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing the math and you said 2021, so that's sort of that post-COVID time. How would you describe the culture at that time?
I think that everybody was, of course, we're managing property, business doesn't stop. But I do think that the team collaboration, especially the cross-team collaboration, just wasn't where it needed to be in order for us to sustain future growth. And so coming back into the office full time, because that's what we are, is we're full time in office staff, just getting everyone to work together again. We work on a continuum. So we have development team, we have a construction team, we have a leasing team, and a property management team. And so we all needed to be able to work together and get to know each other again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can imagine. So how did you, probably as a team, co-create that new culture that you wanted going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. I think it was a multifaceted approach. I think the first thing was the values, the team values. I think that we have our organizational values. We're a family run business and we want to hold true to family values. There are some families that have dysfunctional values. And so we had to make sure that, our values, which I think everybody affiliates easily with, they are aligned and everybody knows of them. And so that internal communications piece was huge right from the get-go. We also invested into full team annual training. And so we found that to be really beneficial in the sense that we are trying to develop more human skills around the team. We know we have skilled people in their seats. And so building out those human skills and building the connection between cross-functional teams was our highest priority in the first year. Beyond that, we went into, I want to say, tons of different cultural initiatives, increasing our benefits, better health and wellness spending accounts, maternity, paternity, and parental leave top-ups, adequate time off, extended winter holidays, volunteer time off, and a designated social committee. And so I think between building out all the HR functions and then those perks really help to increase those retention rates and the team collaboration.
Okay. Wow. You've covered a lot of ground. So let me back up because you mentioned values. And I think so many leadership teams underestimate how fundamental that can be in building culture and creating an intentional culture. What are your values
Yeah.
as a team?
So I'll give you one example of our values. It's respectful collaboration. And I think that respectful collaboration, whether you're in the workplace or you're at home in your personal lives, those values hold true to most people. I think people inherently gravitate towards respectful collaboration. And so the values that we have, like entrepreneurial mindset as well. I mean, to have to have that also in your personal life benefits to you. And so I think the values, in a sense, they're not straying from what people already believe, or most people already believe. And so it's easy to get that buy-in. And it's easy for people to be able to walk the talk if there's not a division between personal and professional lives.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think those values then become a bit of a compass, right? Like entrepreneurial mindset is not necessarily a value that all companies embrace. So, what does that look like for your team? Like, do you have an example of where you guys have lived that value and have sort of a story?
Yeah, absolutely. So entrepreneurial mindset, I would say is, I mean, us going into self-performing construction. We used to contract that out and now we're doing it all together. And we have two active construction sites right now. And so yes, it was uncharted territory in a sense from a process perspective. But the fact that we were already managing it and then just jumping in with boots on the ground and succeeding at it, award winning at it. So yeah, I think that's a really good example of entrepreneurial mindset.
I love that example. That's great. How would you describe your own leadership style?
It's funny because you don't want to speak about yourself, I guess, or brag about yourself.
Do it to your own horn.
I would say that my leadership style would be probably very clear. And I think clear is kind. And when you are clear about where you're what the end goal is, if you're clear about what needs to get done, you're clear about policies and procedures, you're clear on your communications, I think that's the kindest thing that you can do. And I think people reciprocate well and they react well to that kind of leadership. I would also say my leadership style is flexible. Being in HR and being the sole HR person for Royop Development, I wear a lot of hats. And so being able to shift gears and very quickly have an open door policy, be available. And I want to say be heart led, being engaged in conversations, be able to have those different difficult conversations sometimes.
You mentioned also in your bio, I read that you were human centered. So, how does human centered and heart led play together?
Yeah, I think that it's so easy to get caught up in working. Yes, we're running a business. And yes, there's rules here. But at the same time, we're all human beings and we come from different backgrounds. We are unique. We come in with our own unique talents and our diversities. And being able to embrace that and leverage that in the workplace can actually really lend beneficially to the organization. I want to be heart led and I want to be human centered in the sense that no, I'm not focused on employee numbers. I want to be able to embrace who comes into our workplace and meet them where they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and in your role, HR can often be a bit like walking a tightrope, right? Like balancing the needs of policy, the needs of the company, the needs of employees, and that human centered piece of it. What's the toughest balancing act that you've faced?
I think the toughest balancing act is that some of the best work, I read a quote recently and it's about some of the best HR work will never be shared because it lives in stories that can't be told. So often there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that I can't share. And I think that's a really tough balancing act in itself. Thankfully, we have a leadership team that is very smart and collaborative and agile, and they want to collaborate. And so I think that's alleviated a lot of that balancing act. Our leadership team wants to go above and beyond for employees. So it's not difficult for me to go to them and say, "Hey, I think this is the best thing that we should do." And they have full support of ensuring that, our employees are happy.
Nice. Yeah. You know what's funny? So I went to business school
Mhm.
at Haskins School of Business, and HR was the functional area that people thought was fluffy and kind of like easy or something like that from a subject matter to study. But once I got into the workplace and really saw what HR does, I was like, that is way harder than I ever expected. Like just all of the policy stuff that you need to know and all of the like paperwork and yeah, the procedural things that you need to manage. I had no idea until I actually got into the real world.
Yeah, there's a huge administrative burden when it comes to HR. And I think if you leverage the right softwares and systems to help you make that scalable, so that way when you grow, it grows with you. I think that could be really beneficial for a lot of HR professionals.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And now you also guide other leaders in their roles.
Yeah.
What's a common mistake that you see leaders make with their teams?
I think the biggest mistake, and I wouldn't say it's a mistake. I think it's just an oversight. I think leaders are so busy and they're so caught up in all the things that they are accountable to that they may not be able to see exactly what's going on with an employee.
Mm.
It's just that they're so busy that if they do slow down and they have those difficult conversations and they give the benefit of the doubt, typically that employee is not deliberately not performing, or typically that employee is not deliberately messing up.
Mhm.
So there's usually something going on other than what meets the eye. And so I think if leaders slow down just a touch and they're able to have those frequent touch points with their teams, they'll have so much more insight.
Well, and so I guess we're back to the balancing act because for leaders, they're responsible or accountable at least for delivery of results. And at the same time, balancing that human aspect of managing a team. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you support leaders as far as an HR professional and a human being? How do you support?
I mean, anything that they ask, I'll support, but I push back. And I think that comes with time. So I think that the relationships that I've built with the leaderships, especially within leadership teams within Royop, is I can push back and I can say, well, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? And it turns into, rather than someone's back being pushed against the wall, it turns into a conversation and it turns into development of a new idea or a new way. And so it's never only my way. I definitely don't want to shove policy down somebody's throat. And and at the same time I think it requires a lot of flexibility.
Okay. It
Yeah,
sounds like you ask a lot of thought-provoking questions then.
I do. I do because I often find that questions it provokes, yeah, it provokes thought, it provokes understanding, it provokes, okay, maybe I should try this instead and perhaps have a new outcome.
When other leaders in the organization do have a misstep, then how do you support from that point of view?
I think we have an internal mandate across our entire team to have each other's back. And that is one of our core values here is we say got your six. And so we have each other's back no matter what. So if somebody does misstep or there was a mistake had, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just owning up and saying, "Hey, I made this mistake. How do we fix it?"
Did you say I have your six?
Got your six.
Got your six? What is the six?
So it's a military term for a clock. So you have 12 o'clock position at the top and 6 o'clock position at the bottom. So if you have somebody six, it means you got their back.
Oh, cool. I've never heard that before.
So just having grace for everybody. I mean, there's been times where even I've said, well, I've messed up here. I mean, because even if you're HR and you're managing all the policies and procedures, yes, there's times that I've messed up. And there's been many times that my leadership has said, okay, let's help you. Let's get you out of this. And so finding grace for everybody, because again, we are humans and we're going to make mistakes and we're not, chat GPT or robots where it's going to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of chat GPT, have you guys had any challenges or misuse of AI? How does that affect your business?
I think that this is where policy anchors it. So, I mean, there's OpenAI where organizations should probably consider having policies around that, policies around mentioning company information, maybe some proprietary information, company names, individuals of people at companies, investor names, and that type of stuff. I think if organizations want to use some sort of AI, having policies around that, having either opting for closed AI or having policies around open AI. And so that's how we're managing that internally.
Okay, so you have a policy in place?
Do. Yes.
Okay. And in what situations are employees allowed to use AI or even encouraged?
I mean, again, with the entrepreneurial mindset, if AI is going to help bring data together in a very easy way for an employee, we want to support that. We want to support employees developing and learning and accessing different forms of how to work better, how to work smarter.
Mm-hmm.
We have smart employees. We know that they can write emails and they can draft emails and they can analyze data. But if AI is going to help them do their jobs more efficiently, we support that.
What's your favorite aspect of your role?
I think my most favorite aspect of the role is that no day is the same. Every single day is so different. The interactions I have with the team, the openness I have with the team. I think that they trust me to be their HR. Usually people get scared to go to an HR person's office. My office is like a revolving door and it's people are always coming in and it's not about complaints or handling grievances. It's just having conversations on the daily.
That's nice. How big a team does Royop have?
So when I started, the team was around 40 employees, and since then we've doubled. We're just above 80.
Okay.
And so we're on that road to 100 and getting geared up to grow.
Wow. And I don't know if you've ever been through this transition. I was in a transition in a company from that 80 to it was actually about 110
Mhm.
within a year and a half. And I don't know what it is. When you're 80, you feel still a bit small, like you know everybody. And then once you hit over 100, it's weird. It's like some of the people become a mystery to you, and you're like, why don't I know everybody? It just that 20 to 25, 30 people makes a big difference.
It does. I mean, we saw it even when we went from 40 to above 80. But I think what alleviates that is getting the team together as much as possible,
Mhm.
having those huddles within the team, having frequent touch points. And those training sessions that I talked about, the annual training on the soft skills, that's for our entire team that comes together, regardless of their geographical locations. So I think that really alleviates some of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was going to ask about that. So you've invested in development and training for your team. What kind of development do you think has had the biggest impact?
I would say potentially, I think the team training. I think the annual team training to get together and have the team collaborate together, regardless of their positions. And keep in mind, like employees, let's say on property management versus employees on construction have very different interests. And so having them come together in a room and be able to meet together and get to know each other brings just a little extra layer of knowing and respect
Mhm.
that you otherwise wouldn't get. I think the other thing that we've really invested in was our onboarding process.
Oh, okay, yes, that's important.
Yeah, so we have job specific training that every single new hire goes through. And then we also have an orientation that's centered around who's who at Royop, what makes us great, what our culture is, and the occupational health and safety as well.
Mm-hmm.
That feeds into a mentorship program and then evolves into a coaching relationship with the manager.
Nice.
Yeah.
But going back to that annual training, what are some of the topics that you cover?
Yeah. So in previous years, actually this past year, we covered emotional intelligence. And so we had everyone do EQI 2.0 assessments.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone had individual one-on-one coaching sessions with an actual EQI coach. So they could have that personal touch point. And then we had a full team EQI training with a consultant. I mean, the training sessions ultimately, if an employee can take one thing away and if they can apply it into their personal lives, I mean, that's great too.
Do you want to give a shout out to the consultant who was the great facilitator you had?
Yeah, so we know one of the consultants we had from previous years, Tara Lee.
Yes.
Yeah, so shout out to Tara Lee.
Awesome.
We went and did an obstacle course with her, I think 2 years ago, it was such a valuable experience for our team.
Very cool. And you said there was another one?
So the EQI consultants it's actually called EQI 2.0 training company. So I mean, people could Google that as well. It was really a valuable training session.
Yeah. Was it David Corey?
Yes,
Yes, I love
yes,
him.
yeah. He was incredible. He pushed us to really get out of our comfort zones during those sessions. And I mean, we had team members come to us and say, "Hey, I applied this in my personal life." And to be able to apply that in your personal life and be able to iron out maybe some things in your personal life allows you to come to work and just be present here, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned like soft skills, they're not so soft,
No,
right? Like they are applicable in every situation, in every relationship we have, and in all of our communications. So it's super important.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing that you guys invest in that. So, where do you find inspiration?
I think I find, in particular in my role, I think I find inspiration from the team. Because often if you're listening or if you're looking or if you're observing, and as I said before, there is power in the pause, I will get hints on what I need to do next. And I'll get hints on maybe where Royop is lacking in their offering to the employees. And so I certainly get inspired there. I also get inspired by CPHR, which is the designation that I'm a part of. There's mentorship programs there that I partake in where I've been the mentor and I've been the mentee as well. So I'm inspired by that. I'm also inspired by maybe workplaces that aren't doing it right. And that's certainly not where we want to be. So yeah,
Yeah, there's huge lessons in the mistakes, right? And actually that's something I like to highlight on this show all the time is like let's not just talk about when everything was rosy. Let's talk about when things didn't go well.
exactly.
And what do we learn from that? So what advice would you give to your younger self when you got into leadership?
I think the advice would be to slow down. I think I'm somebody that likes to just hit the ground running and I want to get all these different things done. But I think that if you slow down and especially in an HR position, coming into an organization and you build those relationships and you observe, you'll be able to see what needs to be changed in the future. And you can be a lot more strategic in that way as well.
What do you think has been the biggest change in HR over the last few years, like 4 or 5 years?
I think the biggest change is probably, and I think we're going to be seeing this with us too a lot more, is managing teams remotely, managing teams in other satellite offices, being able to connect with them on that human level, even though you are at a distance. And I think COVID taught us that, but I don't think that's going away.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think so either. Yeah, I work with a lot of teams who I'm remote with them and they're remote with their teams. And it's just like a spider web of distance that we all need to find a way to connect.
yeah, and it has to be very intentional, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. What are you looking forward to for the rest of 2025?
So in 2025, where are we at? We're in August. So we have a few months left. I think what I'm looking forward to the most is finishing off the year. As I said, our team has doubled in size since 2021. Our turnover rates have softened drastically. We have experts in their respective positions, and I'm looking forward to keeping them in their positions and keeping them happy in those roles. We also have about 20% of our employees in satellite offices. And so looking forward to make more connection with them and yeah, just building out our team even more.
So for those in satellite offices, do you bring the entire team together occasionally, or how do you maintain that culture?
So thankfully, all of our team right now is in Alberta. So we have some in Edmonton and Sherwood Park and Lethbridge. And so it's really quite easy to bring them together. It's also easy to make trips out there as well. And so, yes, they do attend most of our team events. And I think inclusivity right now at our stage of growth is optimal.
How often do you get the team together?
So for sure, we get together quarterly. We have our Royop Roundup huddles where we
Oh,
get together quarterly as a team and we kind of do a recap of the previous quarter from each division. That's an employee-led initiative, which is great. So yeah, we have the team come together for that. And then beyond that, we have, our annual holiday parties and different cultural initiatives where we get the team together.
okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned too about supporting the retention and reducing turnover, the initiatives for like time off and other incentives. How has the team responded to those things?
I think it's great to have like the different perks. I think it's great to have the good benefits, the health and wellness spending accounts, extended winter holidays, volunteer days off. It's great to have all that. But I think what the team has been mostly responsive to is having just structure, having structured policies, procedures, not too much gray area. And I think that allows everyone to just be able to come to work and know what's going on. And so, does that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like scaffolding, right? It's
Mhm.
not that you're building everything or telling them exactly how to do their work every day, but you're giving them scaffolding so that it supports what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To use a building related
Yeah.
analogy. Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate that because I think, a lot of times when it comes to HR and thinking about the perks that will help retain employees, it's hard to know what exactly the ingredients are. And I think people over index on things like pay and time off and under index on some of the things that you mentioned, like structure that help create that feeling of comfort in I
Yeah.
know what I'm supposed to do every day and I know how I'm being measured and I know what it means to do a good job versus a bad job.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, even beyond that, like, is your company investing in you? Is there education reimbursement? Is there room for growth? Is there opportunities for development? I think, yes, we pay at market rate. We go above that. We offer the best benefits that we can offer at this point in time. But it's also just coming in and saying, okay, is this company willing to actually invest in my development and my
Mhm.
longevity? And it's not just a job, it's a career. And so yeah, I think we do really well at that.
So I don't have a ton of experience working in commercial real estate, but it seems like it would be more of a male dominated environment. Is that true? Or is that a fair perception or no?
I would say predominantly yes. And historically it has been quite male dominated. I can say though that at Royop we have equal of men and women in their seats, which is great. Our VP of construction is female. Our director of leasing is female. Myself, director of HR is female. Our broker on record is female. And so I wouldn't say that's true for Royop.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really proud of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and so was that an intentional decision or is that just kind of like who arrived at the right time or
I think no, that wasn't an intentional decision at all. I think that came in that place where we're hiring the right people for their jobs, regardless of any of the human rights protected grounds. We want to make sure that we have the right people in their seats, and it just happened to be so.
Mm-hmm. So how does that compare with other environments in the industry, and what's it like working with other people in the industry who are maybe coming from a different point of view?
From what I've heard, and because I'm in HR, I'm more internal than external. But from what I've heard is that it might be more difficult to advance in your career in a male dominated industry, such as commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can really say to that. Whereas here, I think that people are people, regardless of gender.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to put in the work and they're willing to, develop themselves, and I mean, the sky's the limit. Yeah.
What do you think? It's interesting. I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing or if it's just become higher in my awareness, but it feels like people are talking more about DEI initiatives, so diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for those who aren't like, I shouldn't use acronyms, but for me, it's always been like hire the right person for the job, but I also acknowledge that might have a white bias, right? And so I think for some employers, they're maybe not even aware that they're choosing in a way that's not as inclusive. What are you noticing, or what do you comment on that?
The only thing that I can really say on that is that I think it's up to leadership and human resources within an organization to build out a very intentional recruitment or retention plan, and basically have all your hiring managers trained on that. And so that kind of alleviates, okay, we're not hiring for these things. We're hiring for these other things. And we're hiring for your knowledge, skills, your experiences, your education, and other attributes. We're not touching on any of these points. And so when you have a recruitment and retention plan that has hiring initiatives that, you're going to hire on different platforms, you're going to have different people look at resumes, you're going to have different team members come into interviews and different phases of interview processes, that that somehow starts to alleviate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's a topic that I haven't dove into as much as I maybe would like to, maybe because I don't know how to talk about it, to be honest.
It's such a sensitive topic, and
Yeah.
everyone is scared to talk about it. I can say at Royop we have such a diverse team from so many ethnic backgrounds, and it actually lends to, who we are and our expertise in the industry. And we celebrate that. So yeah, I think that if employers get straight on those recruitment and retention practices, and hiring managers that come in that are like-minded, that can learn those recruitment retention practices and follow them,
Mhm.
then the organization can be set up for success with diversity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about it because
Yeah. It seems like a sticky subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's the reality, right? Like we live in a world where I think most people are trying to be really intentional about that bias or the possibility of that bias. And so I think it's important for us all to ask ourselves the question when we're looking at a pool of candidates and saying, am I being biased here? Am I truly looking at skill set?
Well, yeah. And I think when you compare what's on the resume to references to your experience in interviews, that won't lie to you. And I think if you just stick to that, then those unconscious biases don't come up,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Well, and like you said, getting multiple people involved in the interview process to check yourself and like having a debrief with each other, like, hey,
Exactly.
what did you think of these candidates, and being sure that you're checking yourself
Yeah.
throughout.
And when you are recruiting and you're interviewing, I mean, yes, there is a lot on that job description that we need to fulfill. But at the same time, there is another side that is cultural fit. Who's aligned with our values? Are they going to come up and disrupt the culture? And so that also is something that I think employers have to look at, especially at a stage of growth. and especially at a stage where you want to preserve the culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people talk about disruption these days, and disruption can be in a good way. Like it can shake up your thinking and help you maybe be aware or think of things differently, which can be a really positive trajectory to go in. But also, it can be not a good thing in some ways. That disruption can be like taking you against your values or in a direction that you don't want to go.
Exactly. So being able to decipher between what the organization is aligned with and what they're not aligned with. And that's when, I mean, that team training, I'll go back to that. And, us reinforcing our values and what matters to us and what our mission and vision is, I mean, that is a compass, as you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. What is something that you discovered that you didn't have a policy around that you needed to put policy around?
I don't know if it's so much policy versus program. And so for us, because we are property management, we are now self-performing construction, our occupational health and safety program, putting that in place, making it more construction geared was something that we needed to put in place. I mean, we want to keep everybody safe and healthy. We're also core certified. And so what core is, it's a governing body for a safety standard, and it keeps us accountable to our health and safety. So building out that program, making sure there's enough documentation that we're recording, ensuring that our team is trained up on health and safety, any team member, from an administrator here in the office to a site superintendent on a site. So that I think was a huge undertaking and a very necessary component to our policies and procedures.
So you said reporting, like, is it kind of like number of days without an accident or something like that?
So when I say reporting, what I mean is we have incidents. So somebody gets injured on site, and you know, reporting that incident, investigating that incident, finding a way for continuous improvement, finding a learning in that and actionable items to carry forward. And so, of course, I mean, we have construction sites, and of course, there's incidents always in the workplace. And just being able to find that piece where we are investigating our incidents and improving it, so that way maybe it doesn't occur in the future, or it mitigates the risk of it occurring in the future.
Yeah. So things like, I don't know, somebody trips over a pile of tiles and maybe they shouldn't be put in the middle of the room or something like that.
Could be something like that, or it could be, somebody's harness. Their clearance is not calculated correctly. And so if they fall, are they going to hit the ground?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's important.
The risk could be even higher. But just ensuring that every single employee, every single stakeholder that's involved in our projects, or that visits us here at the office, or comes to one of our shopping centers, is safe, and having the foresight and, a health and safety committee around that to ensure that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what is the look ahead, like next year or so, looking like for Royup?
Yeah. So I think that we're on our road to 100, and we, just being able to standardize some more processes, ensure that they're scalable for our growth has been a focus point for us for the last 5 years, and continuing on with that. We have currently 20% of our employees that are in satellite locations, as I mentioned, across Alberta. And we're really excited to be potentially moving into Vancouver Island. And so an extension of our team there, and just adding to the team and ensuring that our culture still stays alive.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you guys like won an award recently. What was that for?
Yeah, so it's Canada's Best Managed, and it's an award sponsored by Deloitte. It's based on so many different credentials, and it is a massive undertaking. It's based on environmental social governance, the company's financials, organizational culture, and so we're really proud of winning that award.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Shama, for everything that you've shared today and for all the stories. I really appreciate it. And for listeners out there, thank you for listening.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
We're glad you joined us for Suits and Sneakers. If you want to be an expert guest, look for the link in the show notes. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be notified of future episodes.